Marty.
It's a miracle. All of that.
That's why I never made it as a musician. I hated microphone checks.
Check it out.
Alright, well, everyone knows my real name now. My professional name is Horror Show Jack because I make customized fangs for a living, and the most common response I get is, "You do what?" I went to a cardiologist at the beginning of 2021 because I'm like, alright, after the pandemic, I'm going to go get everything checked out, make sure the old ticker's still working. And I sit down, the guy checks everything, and he goes, "So what do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "I'm a fangsmith." He goes, "You're what?" I'm like, "I'm a fangsmith. I make customized fangs." "You do what?" I'm like, "I make fangs." He gets up and walks out of the room. Now, had he not checked anything else, I would have been like, "This can't be good." He comes back in with another doctor, and he goes to her, he's like, "Ask him what do you do for a living?" I'm like, "I make customized fangs and teeth." She goes, "You do what?" And I look at both of them like, "Are we gonna go through this shit again?" So anyway, so my professional name is Horror Show Jack, and I've talked to Marty about this, and I've told I've told Maverick about this. They're like, "Well, why don't you get up and do comedy?" I'm like, "You got a bunch of great musicians. I don't want to be the only jackass getting up here and telling stupid jokes, you know." But also, this is a really huge challenge because Marty asked me right before I came up here. He goes, "So what am I going to hear tonight? What am I going to see?" And I'm like, "You're going to see me struggle not to use the F word. Because the house rule is like no F-bombs." And when I texted Maverick yesterday, while I'm shaking, holding this text, I'm like, hit send. It's like, all right, I have a few minutes of non-F-bomb material, which is really difficult because you don't realize how much you use a word until it's taken away. But I mean, I also want to thank Maverick for giving me the opportunity to do this because I've been coming here since November. It's taken me that long to get up here behind the microphone. So give him a round of applause because he is a beautiful, beautiful man. Like, Maverick ranks up there, in my opinion, he ranks up there with like guys like Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah.
The only difference between him and Johnny Depp is I would have sex with Johnny Depp. Now the reason why I say that is I personally know you. That would make it weird. I'll never meet Johnny Depp, so I don't have to worry about putting boot to ass where I sit. I'm not dealing too well with this whole thing in the last 3 years needing glasses, so I never bring them out. I really need to write in big print. So did you know that cannibalism is not illegal? It's only frowned upon? Yeah, look it up. It's not illegal. Murder is illegal, so if you eat enough of a person, cut enough of them off, they're going to eventually die. So that's the illegal part. Cannibalism, the act, is just frowned upon. Now, that being said, do you know what a cannibal calls a child in a stroller or a person in a wheelchair? Meals on Wheels. Now, for all of you groaning as always making fun of people, I am not making fun of people in wheelchairs. I'm not making fun of the disability. They're humans. They deserve to have their balls busted like everybody else. So, one of the things I love about the niche here is that this is like the adult version of what I did on weekends in college. My friend John had a basement. We lived in his parents' basement. Huge house, huge basement, about half the size of this place. And we'd go there, we'd drink, we'd play D&D, we'd watch movies, and then we'd break out guitars and everyone would jam and we'd all sing and have fun. So now this is the adult version where you have professional musicians, where it's organized, everyone knows what they're doing. You have a bar that you have to pay for the alcohol. That's the only thing that sucks. Back then it was free because we always told him we were going to pay him and we never did. But now, like, being around people that are adults, which that word just doesn't roll off my tongue well because I never looked at myself as an adult and I'm like, I'm 44. But you remember the band Winger from the 80s? Their hit song 17? It's really cool back then. Then you listen to the lyrics as an adult, it's like, ooh, not so cool. Not so cool. So I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't have kids, but if I had a daughter, it's like, Daddy says she's too young. She is too young. And I realized, because I work a lot of conventions, and when I have, like, I have had, that's another thing I hate about getting older. When the girls that look really young at my booth, like, do I look old enough to have a 22-year-old daughter?
No.
Thank you. Well, apparently some people think that, but you will never see a person get scared quicker when I turn around and it's like, who are you and why are you talking to my daughter? You watch a guy twice my size go, nothing, sir, nothing. I'm like, oh, I like this. So I'm originally from New Jersey, and traveling all around, everyone gives me crap about Jersey drivers.
Yeah.
I've been down here for 3 years. None of you natives from North Carolina can say shit to me because you don't use directionals. And on a daily basis, anytime I leave my house, I count at least 2 cars that will run red lights. Up in New Jersey, you get pulled over for that stuff. I've noticed one of the things I do like about it is I never see cops on the road. We saw one today for the first time. I've been down here in 3 years. Yeah, all right, I got pulled over when I was going over to Allstate. The guy let me off. You're a fan of Faith No More, right? Do you know there is a band? Mike Patton is a phenomenal vocal god. And if you ever were a singer, you don't even have to like his music, but you have to respect what that man can do with his voice.
Right.
So 20 years ago, when I was doing the band thing, he was one of my mentors. Not literally, I didn't know the man, I wish. But like anything he did, I'm like, I must buy that CD. So there were 2 albums that came out in 2001 called Tomahawk and Lovage. Now I ordered Lovage when I worked at Barnes Noble. I worked in the stockroom, and the most uncomfortable voicemail I ever got in my entire life on an answering machine. Remember those? So I come home and I have 3 messages, and it's like, yes, hello, Andrew, your CD, Lovage, songs to make love to your old lady came in. And you just heard him like, and he just stopped. And I walked in, picked up, and I'm like, John, that was really uncomfortable voice message to leave, wasn't it? He's like, I hate you. So I used to work at a warehouse in New York, and one of the things I love about the fact that I taught my mother how to text. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes I regret it. When she's annoying, I regret it. But when I get a text message like this, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a skunk in the front yard. I'm at work. What do you want me to do? I'm like, call animal control. She's like, we called the police. I'm like, okay. She's like, well, he shot it and left. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, they're nocturnal. It's probably rabid. 5 minutes later, it's still alive. I'm like, how many times did he shoot it? She goes, 3. I'm like, so now I'm like, Mom, stay inside, lock the doors. It's Walking Dead of the animals out there. So she goes, well, we called the police. The sheriff's coming up. I'm like, this story gets better. He goes, it's dead now. I'm like, what? So I come home, my mother tells me, the sheriff walks in, goes, he's looking at the skunk's just laying there, and he goes, where was he standing? My mom's like, right about where you were. He goes, how many times did he shoot it? 3 times? He used the pumpkin? My mom's like, yeah. He goes, oh, the guys at the station aren't going to let this guy live it down for a long time. Mom's like, why? I'm like, well, he missed. And my father was pissed because there's 3 big holes in his lawn. So Pop pulls out his gun, shoots the thing right in the head, and hands my parents a garbage bag. Here, you clean it up, and leaves.
Oh my God.
You can't, some of this stuff you just can't make up. Like, there was a story in 1999. This 17-year-old girl I knew passed away in her sleep. Don't worry, the joke is coming. And me and my friends are going out to see, I can't remember if it was Shanghai Noon or Shanghai Nights, because I get them mixed up because I can't remember which came out first. But regardless, we're going to see one of those movies. But I get a message from a friend of mine, so I call him back and he's crying. He tells me our friend passed away last night and she's only 17. So I hang up the phone and I'm like, I don't know how to register this, because at the time I was 21. So I go next door and talk to my parents, because my parents are having dinner and drinks with our German neighbors, remembering the fact that they're German later in the story. So my mother has this knack for, I think most mothers, good mothers, have this, where they can tell you what you need to do to center you and put you back on course. So I'm all like unwired. My mom rewires me by just telling me, did you already buy the tickets? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, go see the movie. Sitting home and sulking or crying isn't going to bring your friend back. I'm like, this makes sense. So I go out, I come home, I go out, and we watch the movie, we have a good time, and come back. So now I decide to sit down in front of my computer, because back then I was deep, brooding, and poetic, or no, pathetic. That's the way I would word it. So I sit down and I'm going to express my feelings on my computer. Now this is mid-spring, so the windows are all open. So I'm typing away this poetic word garbage that I would put out and never read to anyone, so why was I writing it? And it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I hear these two idiots outside, loud, laughing, yelling, stumbling over themselves. I'm like, they're gonna wake my parents up, and I'm gonna get blamed for this. So I go to the window and I look outside, and it's my parents. They're the two drunk people outside. They come stumbling in. I'm like, so I come downstairs. I'm like, Mom, Dad, and they're like, hi. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know how to deal with this. So they're like, I'm just like, are you guys all right? Well, so my mother, even drunk, can spin a yarn and tells us like, well, you know, you told us a story about your friend and we got all upset, so we just decided to drink our SIRS away. It's like, oh my jaw's on the floor. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, no, I'm just effing with you. Because when she's drunk, she'll drop a few F-bombs. That was hard to catch that one. So my dad's like, what time is it? And I'm like, it's 2:30 in the morning. She's like, oh my God, we gotta clean up the house. We gotta go to church in the morning. They're stumbling upstairs. I'm hearing them fumbling and bumbling about and like listing off the things they're gonna do. And I'm like, you're not gonna do shit when you wake up because you're gonna feel horrible. My parents tried to keep up with my German neighbors drinking. That was not a good move. So I wake up the following morning, 9:30, 10 o'clock. They've already gone to church. They've already been cleaning the house. And they asked me if I wanted breakfast. So I'm like, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be like Mom and Dad. Guys, my name is Andrew. I am Horror Show Jack. Thank you for this.